in the kind of I don't know how to call it, maybe new age spiritual kind of community that I live in Ecovilla. The talk is a lot about evolution, like we are evolving and we are achieving a higher vibration. I know last week you talked, on Thursday, you talked about vibrations, and they talk about higher frequencies and how as we evolve, and I gather maybe that's at the personal level, but this concept of growth and learning and how everything that happens to us, to the person is it's for our highest goodness. This is the language, and that this is helping us to evolve, to grow, to achieve a higher vibration, and that all the experiences that are there are here to as a message for us for our own edification, our growth. And so, as I'm turning into 1 year of my anniversary of being quite sick last year, I'm getting a lot of people asking me, like, Maria, so what's the insight? What have you learned? What was that all about? And so forth. And the mind wants to make up stories. The mind, like, it's kind of juicy to make up some stories. And I don't have answers to any of those questions. But I was wondering if you have any comments on that.
Yeah. So, yeah, there is growth, of course, and maturity and learning and understanding. In a way, our meetings, are about that, are about growth and understanding. And it's not so much about accumulation of knowledge, or it's more about the understanding about reality, because the understanding about anything else than reality is not so primordial. Of course, it can be useful in some dimensions, but the core understanding is understanding about reality, about truth, and about consciousness, because it is that which is the changeless, the permanent, the real reality aspect of our experience. Now, there is the impression in some circles that consciousness or reality is personal, and that there is a personal growth, personal development. And yes, there is a personal development at the relative level, but not at the level of reality. Now, if you go with the flashlight, in your attic, and you spend some time with the flashlight in your attic because you don't have electricity up there, it's dark, you discover things. You discover old memoirs that maybe you had stored up there. You open a coffer and you find some things from your parents or your grandparents, and maybe in another box you find some toys that your children used to play with, etc. The flashlight is not improving. At the mind level, you're discovering some things, right? But the flashlight, the light of awareness, the light which is lighting, which is shining in the attic, that is permanent, constant. So there isn't that development or an unfolding or progress in consciousness. There is an effect. The flashlight, having it on and keeping it on, has an effect on the body mind. There is understanding, oh, gee, the toys of my children, they're in the attic. Um, so the body mind gets affected by understanding, gets affected by the light of awareness. Light of awareness, once it's turned onto itself, meaning when there is a contemplation of consciousness, it's always the contemplation of consciousness by consciousness itself. There is an understanding about the illusion of separation. And the understanding about the illusion of separation is like discovering, it's a discovering something there. It's a discovering that, oh, that's an illusion. And so the body mind is affected by that. It's the power of the illusion weakens. And in time, the power of the illusion gets close to zero. And so that then your life is expressing the understanding, it's expressing harmony, it's expressing oneness, wholeness, love, it's expressing compassion, wisdom, and empathy, freedom, because there's only one freedom, the freedom of universal being. Now, you had like a traumatic event a year ago, with the health of the body. And that was a very powerful attention grabber. And some events that have a certain magnitude, they have an impact on our routine way of living. Because there is a habitual way of living where we're defined as, in various ways, we define ourselves and we sort of go through the movements of life. And there are sometimes some events that sort of bring you to, you switch, from your attention turns to this, what am I? What's going on here? Is everything going to disappear? I'm going to disappear. What is going on? What is real? What is it that's dying? What is it that's sick? Am I sick? Is the body sick? What is it? What is experience? Sit up. These are, tremendous gifts, from the universe. Because once a message is received, rather than ignored or say, oh, that's a problem. Now, when this message is received, there is a welcoming of that experience. It can lead you to an understanding, a deep, profound understanding that you're not the body. Yes, there is a body. Yes, we are managing the body. Yes, we're taking care of the body best we can, but we are not, I am not the body. Meaning what? If I'm not the body, meaning anything can happen to the body. Now, right now, in this moment, nothing happens to me. Oh, yeah, well, that's easy to say, right? Easy to say. I mean, and then there is experience where you were put into that situation where, yes, I mean, yeah, the body any minute can go. That's not the talk. That's we can talk about the experience after the fact, but the experience itself is beyond words. It's a complete dive into a realm of being face to face with an aspect of yourself that is not mental. Uh, and remembering, Tara's experience of, the past 7, 8 months of her, where her body was sort of heading in a certain direction, it was a beautiful gift of realizing your true self in the process of letting go. In a way, it seemed to be choiceless, but it was also a choice of how to meet it, how to meet this experience, and not to meet it in, from the me belief. Of course, in the case of Tara, she had been contemplating, like you have, your true self as being, as consciousness, as the formless reality. See, so it's a gradual process of letting go. I mean, in time, everything that we cherish, we let go of choicelessly or choicelessly, choicefully or choicelessly. Uh, but this impossible to let go of that which is. We cannot let go of reality. Reality never lets go of itself. Well, that is makes no sense. So that which we are is, let's say, uh, there are, many uh, NDE experiences that refer to, you know, ongoing experience, but we have to take that with a grain of salt because if you are back to narrating or sharing an NDE experience, and although the body was dead, you really were not really dead because the mind was still uh, uh, attached to a form and returned to a form. So that's uh, you can take that just as a little hint in terms of uh, uh, not the continuation of the mind, but the eternity of consciousness. But it's difficult to come to this understanding from the NDE experiences because NDE experiences still has a phenomenal aspect to it. Anyways, I'm drifting on a tangent. The oh, hopefully in those experiences we come to uh, the understanding about the eternity rather than the mortality. Because we already understand the mortality and everything that is in appearance in the world of world, body, mind is bound to disappear. But the understanding about eternity, about the eternity of consciousness. Um, now, I don't, I'm not one of those people who believe in that we are moving in a towards a higher consciousness or anything like that, like you shared, with me earlier, Maria. Uh, I think that's mind stuff because when we say we are progressing, what is it that is progressing or that's advancing? What is it? A personal consciousness, a personal mind, or what? A personal human experience? But all of that is in the dream. The, the world, the wars, the pieces, the volcanic eruptions, the health of the body, the death of the body, all of that is in the dream. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't be involved, we should disregard the dream. Not misunderstand me. I'm just saying that reality doesn't belong to the dream. The dream appears within reality, is made out of the reality of consciousness, but it's not what appears in the dream that has independent reality. In other words, if your personal mind is perceiving a a great progression and a great evolution in consciousness, and your neighbor's mind is perceiving a degradation of consciousness and an increase in war and conflict, it doesn't mean that your mind is the correct mind and your neighbor's mind is the incorrect mind. It is all mind. Why would we hold on just because we have certain experiences to the belief that consciousness is growing and evolving, while the tribe next door, who is not having the experience that we're having, who is having the experience of more feudal battles and more degradation of empires, um, they're hold on to the experience and the belief that, man, we're going to darker and darker ages. What makes your mind the correct mind and their mind a less correct mind, right? You belong to a certain community, you have certain relationships, you have certain experiences. Others have very different experiences than yours.
But would you not say that even in this dream, the minds who focus on living more in harmony and peace is more desirable or more sweet dream than those who go into warfare?
Yeah, well, absolutely. We all
Mhm.
agree on that. Yeah.
Right.
This doesn't
And
mean
what? Mhm.
that uh, although that is a preferable path, that this indeed is the path of humanity or the path that humanity is taking.
Right. And in regard to what you mentioned about everything being vibration, in in the scientific sense, things vibrate at different frequencies. And there's this experience when you walk into a room and you can say like, whoa, the vibes here are really of low frequency, or you just feel really tight. Or,
Yeah.
you walk into a room and like there's a lot of dissonance and you can feel um, antagonism or whatever going on. And
Yeah.
you say, wow, bad vibes. So you walk into a place and into a satsang, like, oh, the vibe here is so lovely. It's good vibes.
Yeah.
Or in that sense, people would talk about, oh, the vibration here has a very high frequency. Or folks here have high frequency, and those folks have low frequency.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
There are two things. There's a sensitivity, that of course, not everybody has. Some other people could walk in the satsang room and say, "Oh my goodness, what's wrong with these people?" Um, Others, as you say, they can walk in and go, "Wow, I want to hang out here." Um, uh, yeah, yeah. So uh, the the more we are gifted with glimpses about our true nature, the more there is understanding about consciousness, our sensitivity we become more open because it is a less self-protection, and the tendencies to be psychologically isolated sort of relaxes, and we, we are more and more sensitive to the field, to people around us, the energies, how what people are experiencing, we sort of empathically sort of sense that, and is a um yeah, and we find ourselves more drawn towards sweeter, gentler, more contemplative friends and situations, and um, less, towards different situations. Um, yeah, it's very nice because uh, the universe, if you're moving in the right direction in your contemplation, is going to uh, manifest more and more sweetness and harmony and love and kindness and beauty for you. It's beautiful. And that's good indication that you're moving in the right direction on your path, that you find more and more harmony in your life, less and less friends with discord or complex minds. So uh, that's also a way in which you can navigate, you know, your path, is whenever you notice complexity in complex minds and complex psychological states. It's not something where you want to, uh, put your tent, you camp your tent, no, this is okay, I can see that, move on. I mean, there is a whole thing in Buddhist some Buddhist circles about the Bodhisattva, the saving others and helping others and so on. That's not something that I'm much fond of. Uh, anyways, we can talk about that another time. But and so there's this whole philosophy that, okay, well, no, if you find people that are suffering, you need to go and save them or whatever. Yeah, and people with complex issues, be helpful to them. Uh, I'm not talking about ignoring, situations that arise in your life where you find yourself drawn and available to help. I'm not talking, I'm talking about making that your bodhisattva's path. All beings who have number we vow to liberate. That is one of the four Buddhist vows that I don't buy into it. Mm, uh, I'm digressing. I'm going on tangent. Yeah.
I thought you were a bodhisattva. Right here might be.
Yeah, that's not a mission. I'm just do what I enjoy. I love sharing and exploring, and some things make sense to some people, some things don't. So it's yeah, lovely to see you.
Sure,
Sure.
lovely.
Yes. So the name of this body mind is Megdi, but am I that? Or am I? There is a saying that I go by no name and all names. My true name is no name and all names. I am Nothing and everything. Not just no name and all names, but no thing and everything. And yet I'm completely opposed to US dropping bombs in Iran. I'm completely opposed to nations dropping bombs on other nations unprovoked. That is not dharmic.